The Lone Star dream has officially turned into a real estate nightmare. Welcome to 2026, where the unprecedented Texas housing bubble has not just burst, it has completely detonated. For years, Texas was the ultimate destination, promising cheap land, no state income tax, and a roaring economy. Millions flocked to the state, driving home prices to atmospheric heights that local wages could never sustain. But the music has stopped. Interest rates remain suffocatingly high, the remote work trend reversed, and the massive oversupply of new construction has finally overwhelmed the market. Right now, in 4 major Texas cities, home values are in a terrifying freefall, and desperate sellers are trapped in underwater mortgages with no escape in sight. Before we reveal the epicenter of this historic real estate collapse, hit that like button with all your might to support our investigative work. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a market update, and leave a comment down below sharing your thoughts on the housing crisis. Let's dive in. City 4, San Antonio. We open our shocking countdown with a city that was historically celebrated as the last bastion of true affordability in the state of Texas, but has now become a sprawling, cautionary tale of catastrophic overdevelopment and devastating financial ruin. San Antonio, famously known as Military City, USA, and beloved for its rich culture and historic missions, experienced a sudden, unnatural, and completely unsustainable influx of out-of-state buyers between 2021 and 2024. As Austin and Dallas became far too expensive, a massive wave of investors, desperate remote workers, and aggressive corporate hedge funds descended upon San Antonio, engaging in blind bidding wars that artificially and ruthlessly inflated the local housing market to levels that the local blue-collar workforce simply could not comprehend, let alone afford. However, the harsh reality of 2026 has slammed the brakes on this artificial boom, plunging the city's real estate market into a deep, freezing paralysis that has left thousands of recent buyers completely stranded in a sea of negative equity. The primary catalyst for this breathtaking crash is a terrifying, unprecedented glut of massive new construction inventory. Greedy national homebuilders, blinded by the temporary pandemic-era frenzy, aggressively bought up thousands of acres of cheap land on the extreme outskirts of the city, particularly in the far west and north sides near areas like Alamo Ranch and beyond Loop 1604. They clear-cut the beautiful Texas hill country and erected endless, sprawling oceans of identical, tightly packed suburban houses, assuming the endless line of wealthy Californian and New York buyers would never stop coming. But in 2026, that pipeline of out-of-state money has completely evaporated, leaving behind a colossal ghost town of brand-new, unsold inventory. To avoid absolute bankruptcy, builders are currently slashing their asking prices by staggering, humiliating amounts, offering tens of thousands of dollars in free upgrades, covering all closing costs, and radically buying down mortgage rates just to get rid of the houses. This desperate, cutthroat builder behavior has utterly destroyed the resale market. Why would anyone buy a 5-year-old home from a regular seller when the builder across the street is practically giving away a brand new house at a massive discount? Consequently, regular homeowners who bought at the peak of the frenzy are now trapped in a terrifying financial nightmare. They are suddenly trying to sell their homes due to return-to-office mandates or job losses, only to discover that their properties are worth drastically less than the exorbitant mortgage they signed up for just a few years ago. To make matters infinitely worse, the legendary and universally feared Texas property tax system is bleeding these residents completely dry. While Texas boasts no state income tax, its property taxes are among the most brutal, aggressive, and punitive in the entire nation. Homeowners are receiving staggering, heart-stopping tax bills based on peak bubble appraisals, forcing families who are already struggling with inflation and high grocery costs to abandon their homes. Foreclosures in Bexar County are skyrocketing at an alarming, heartbreaking pace. Neighborhoods that were supposed to be thriving, vibrant communities are now lined with faded for sale signs that sit ignored for months on end. San Antonio is watching its housing wealth evaporate into thin air, proving that when a historically affordable city is hijacked by reckless speculation, the inevitable crash is brutally unforgiving. City 3, Houston. Taking the third spot on our grim list is a colossal, sprawling metropolis that is currently facing a catastrophic real estate collapse, driven not just by economic headwinds, but by a terrifying, deeply entrenched environmental and insurance crisis that has made homeownership an absolute gamble with nature. Houston, the energy capital of the world and the largest city in Texas, is famous for its lack of zoning laws and its infinite, boundless suburban sprawl. For decades, developers paved over crucial wetlands and vital natural drainage systems to build endless subdivisions in areas like Katy, Cypress, and the Woodlands. But in 2026, the devastating consequences of this reckless, unchecked concrete expansion have finally caught up with the market, creating a perfect, inescapable storm of financial and meteorological terror that has completely broken the back of the local housing industry. The phrase location, location, location has been terrifyingly replaced by elevation, elevation, elevation. The Houston real estate market is currently being absolutely crushed under the suffocating astronomical weight of a completely broken and predatory home insurance industry. Following a relentless, punishing string of extreme, multi-billion-dollar weather events, including devastating historic freezes, apocalyptic localized flooding, and increasingly aggressive hurricane seasons, major national insurance carriers have simply decided they have had enough. In a mass exodus that mirrors the crisis in Florida, insurers are fleeing the Gulf Coast region in absolute droves. Those few companies that have bravely chosen to stay are demanding jaw-dropping, extortionate premiums that are completely bankrupting middle-class families. Homeowners in Houston are opening their mailboxes to find that their annual home and flood insurance premiums have inexplicably doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled overnight, frequently surpassing the cost of their actual property taxes. This insurance apocalypse has transformed historically desirable, leafy neighborhoods into complete financial dead zones. Potential buyers are immediately walking away from closing tables the exact second they see the paralyzing insurance quotes, leaving desperate sellers completely trapped in homes they can no longer afford to protect. Adding fuel to this massive, burning real estate dumpster fire is the notorious volatility of the global energy sector, which heavily dictates Houston's corporate employment landscape. With recent aggressive shifts in the oil and gas markets causing a massive wave of sudden white-collar layoffs in the energy corridor, a massive influx of high-end luxury homes has suddenly flooded the market at the exact worst possible time. You currently have a scenario where thousands of six-figure earners are desperately trying to offload their massive, energy-inefficient McMansions simultaneously, creating a race to the absolute bottom in pricing. The outer suburbs are currently suffering the most brutal, unforgiving price corrections. Areas that saw explosive, irrational appreciation during the pandemic are now witnessing absolute price decimation. Drive through the sprawling developments of Fort Bend or Montgomery counties, and you will see a depressing, endless landscape of price reduction banners waving sadly in the suffocatingly humid air. Houston's real estate crash is a brutal, sobering wake-up call, demonstrating that no amount of cheap land can compensate for a total collapse of the insurance market and the terrifying, unpredictable fury of a changing climate. City 2, Dallas/Fort Worth, DFW. We move up to North Texas to confront the spectacular, agonizing implosion of what was recently considered the most unstoppable, bulletproof corporate real estate juggernaut in the entire United States. The Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, specifically the ultra-wealthy, rapidly expanding northern suburbs like Frisco, Prosper, and McKinney, is currently experiencing a housing crash of monumental, jaw-dropping proportions. For years, this region was the absolute golden child of the Texas economic miracle. Dozens of massive Fortune 500 companies gleefully relocated their colossal corporate headquarters to the DFW area, bringing with them tens of thousands of highly paid executives and tech workers from California and New York. This massive influx of aggressive corporate wealth ignited a buying frenzy that transformed former cow pastures into endless seas of million-dollar cookie-cutter estates. But welcome to 2026, where the corporate relocation pipeline has completely frozen solid. The tech sector is heavily contracting, and the artificially inflated McMansion market is bleeding out in the streets. The sheer scale of the overbuilding in North Texas borders on the absolute absurd. Developers, intoxicated by the endless stream of corporate money, went on a historic, unprecedented building rampage, constructing massive, sprawling luxury communities that stretch endlessly toward the Oklahoma border. They built immense 4,000-square-foot homes with massive media rooms and resort-style pools, completely ignoring the basic laws of supply and demand. Now, with interest rates remaining historically elevated and the corporate job market cooling to a freezing halt, there is absolutely no one left to buy these monstrous, energy-draining properties. The inventory pileup in places like Collin and Denton counties is truly terrifying to behold. Sellers, who arrogantly assumed their homes would appreciate by 20% every single year forever, are now waking up to a brutal, cold reality. They are being forced to slash hundreds of thousands of dollars off their wildly delusional asking prices, and even then, the houses sit totally vacant, collecting dust for 6, 8, or even 12 agonizing months. But the silent, ruthless killer that is truly driving the DFW housing market into the ground is the devastating, unyielding burden of Texas property taxes. Because home prices in the Metroplex essentially doubled in a matter of a few short years, the county appraisal districts ruthlessly hiked the assessed values to match the peak bubble hysteria. Now, families are being crushed by annual property tax bills that routinely exceed $20,000 to $30,000 a year just for a standard suburban home. When you combine an 8% mortgage rate with a staggering, astronomical property tax bill and skyrocketing HOA fees, the monthly carrying costs of these homes have become completely mathematically impossible for even upper-middle-class professionals to sustain. We are now witnessing a massive, panicked wave of strategic defaults and panic selling among the quote-unquote house-poor upper-middle class. The Dallas-Fort Worth crash is a loud, agonizing testament to the dangers of unchecked corporate hubris and the lethal, devastating combination of massive overbuilding and punitive, inescapable property taxation. City 1, Austin. And finally, we arrive at the absolute, undisputed, and globally infamous epicenter of the 2026 American real estate collapse. The city that flew the closest to the sun and is now crashing back to earth with a force so violent and destructive, it is making national economic headlines every single day. Austin, Texas. Just a few short years ago, Austin was the undisputed darling of the pandemic era, the promised land for Silicon Valley refugees, and the hyped-up headquarters of the new tech revolution. Elon Musk moved Tesla here, Oracle built massive campuses, and an absolute tidal wave of tech bros, venture capitalists, and speculative investors flooded the city, aggressively bidding up the price of literal tear-down shacks to well over $1 million. Austin saw home prices skyrocket by an incomprehensible, logic-defying 60, 70, and even 80% in a matter of months. It was a gold rush of epic, historic proportions. But today, the Austin real estate market is nothing short of a massive, smoldering, apocalyptic financial crater. The tech bubble has violently and unforgivably burst. The major tech titans that promised endless, utopian job growth have reversed course, enacting brutal, sweeping mass layoffs and aggressively consolidating their workforces back to the West Coast, or transitioning jobs entirely to AI. The sudden, catastrophic evaporation of six-figure tech salaries has pulled the rug out from under the entire regional economy. The downtown condo market, once a glittering symbol of Austin's newly acquired metropolitan wealth, is an absolute, unmitigated disaster zone. Gorgeous, glass-walled high-rise apartments overlooking Lady Bird Lake are sitting completely empty, with desperate investors trying to offload them at 40 to 50% losses just to stop the bleeding of exorbitant monthly maintenance fees. But the absolute worst carnage is happening in the sprawling, hyper-inflated suburban ring, places like Leander, Cedar Park, Pflugerville, and Georgetown. These are areas where desperate buyers, priced out of the city center during the boom, paid absolute top dollar for basic, unimpressive tract homes located an hour outside of the city. Today, those suburban markets are effectively dead. Inventory has exploded by hundreds of percent, creating a massive backlog of desperate sellers who are violently undercutting each other in a frantic race to the bottom. It is entirely common in 2026 to see Austin homes that were purchased for $800,000 in 2022 now struggling to attract even a single lowball offer at $450,000. The equity wipeout is historic, devastating, and entirely absolute. Thousands of young, first-time homebuyers who bought into the hype are now permanently trapped in homes they cannot afford to sell and cannot afford to keep, watching their entire life savings evaporate into the hot Texas wind. Austin has transitioned from being the hottest real estate market in the history of the United States to becoming the ultimate, tragic poster child for speculative greed, irrational exuberance, and the devastating, life-ruining consequences of a hyperinflated tech bubble violently bursting in real time. Which of these crashing Texas markets shocked you the most? Are you seeing massive price drops in your own neighborhood? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Absolutely smash that like button to support the channel, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss our deep dives into the hidden realities of the housing market. See you in the next video.